55,000 people will be in this compound for 3 days, and there's 7 stages, and over the 2 weekends there will be 300 electronic dance music artists playing here, which is unlike anything we normally do. This is a whole new world for us here at Tait Towers.
Tait Towers started here in America in about 1979. It was a lighting company at first, and it kind of morphed into a staging company, but it grew exponentially.
Tait Towers has always represented the best in the business.
What we're building either enables the show to happen or not. We thrive on complications.
25 years ago, musicians were making money selling records, and now they're making money selling seats. And that's why we're making stage sets.
Like any organization, we have our moments, we have our drama.
It's full on, because there's a deadline that we're up against all the time. There's no showing up a day late.
In this business, you're only as good as your last show.
Process of unloading our trucks. We've gotten 5 trucks unloaded so far today, hoping to hit 7 by the end of the day. Right now, we're just waiting for space on stage, trying to coordinate with other departments. We've got our video track truss that will hopefully hang today. The plan is to get that hung today, get it cabled today, and get it floating so that lighting can do what they need to do on it. And tomorrow, when our truss and hangers arrive for that, we'll continue to install that and hopefully get the video and the pyramids hung on it.
So this black structure that you see is a steel truss structure. It's heavy-duty truss. So on this truss, we have some mechanics and some gears and things like that so that we can have trolleys that ride along, and each of those trolleys also rotates so that when it is in its downstage position by the audience, it can have the proper side facing the audience, and then when it comes all the way around to the back, it can rotate and stay in the same orientation so that it always looks the same to the audience. It's going to be handling quite a large load.
We have to have a stage that can evolve and tell a story across 60 hours. Most rock concert shows go for an hour or an hour and a half, 2 hours. Our show goes for 60 hours long.
We've never run our machines in a show 10 hours a day, 3 days in a row. Our shows are an hour and a half, 2 hours long at the max.
Does that make you nervous?
See what happens. I don't know. What's the worst thing that happens? Unplug some shit.
When we approach the design of this stage, it's about incorporating the technology to allow it to tell a story and evolve across the festival. We've got 80 performers performing on the stage. They all want to outdo each other. So the biggest challenge is to manage expectations.
Each band has the ability to use all the technology here. So they've all had the ability to program their own stuff, to bring their own content to the screens, and they've all been working with James as to what their songs are, or who's going to run the console, or how each show is going to be produced. So he's had a full fucking plate.
I'll tell you how the real growth of Ultra started. I did an event many years ago in the early 90s called Divine Playground, actually in this park. And it was a multi-stage little mini festival which had one stage. It was all electronic dance music. Russell Fabish, who started Ultra, went to that event. He was so inspired by the event that spurred the Ultra Music Festival. He's the visionary. He's certainly one of the key components in the success of the festival.
The first show is about 10,000 people on the beach, and every year it's just got bigger and bigger.
Basically what we're looking at is an overhead view of our site. You have the whole perimeter of the park, all the way from the ocean to Biscayne Boulevard, which gets shut down for the days of shows, all the way over to the landmark would be the Intercontinental Hotel, straight to the water, and we take all of Bayfront Park.
It's our first experience with something as intense as this and concentrated in such a small area. If you look at what we're doing here, it's still one stage as a one-off. And so the only thing that might be different for us is the fact that it stands to be used for 60 hours over 2 consecutive weekends, which is a lot. And that doesn't include any of the programming time, which we'll need quite a bit of. By the time you're done running all this gear, it's really getting the shit kicked out of it.
I went ahead and told them to go ahead and do the whole floor instead of doing half and half. So they're going to do the whole bit. And then we'll roll in our first row, do our ledgers, button them up.
Mountain Productions, who's the staging and the structure vendor, is laying in our sub deck. Once they have the sub deck laid in, we'll be able to put in our matrix lifts, which are 2 lifts per dolly. We've got 16 dollies, so 32 lifts.
It's like we've just landed in the middle of Miami City and deployed all this stuff, and it's very military. It's like the Navy SEALs arriving on the beach, pretty much. It's like, here we are, we're as ready as we can be, let's go.
We've had a request from one of the artists to make the video screen larger on the reveal doors that open and close. So we've got a whole lot of engineering issues with that, weight capacity issues.
What they want to do now is add 2 more video panels, right? Remove one of our pyramids, okay? And then they're going to remove all of the lighting units off the back. Until we get all the studies done, know the weight requirements and all of that, we can't get into the producer and the artists to get it signed off on to actually implement it. So if we get into any of this and then we find out that we have to build more things or change something that we built, it's gonna domino down the schedule. You know what I mean? What they want to do now is add 2 more video panels, right? Remove one of our pyramids, okay? And then they're going to remove all of the lighting units off the back.
We've had a request from one of the artists to make the video screen larger on the reveal doors that open and close. So we've got a whole lot of engineering issues with that, weight capacity issues.
Yeah, go for Justin.
Hey, Brock just called me and he's confused on what actually needs to happen. So if you could give him a call back and tell him what the new plan is.
Yeah, I just talked to TK too. I'm going in to talk to James now to get it nailed down. So I have Tyler checking with McLaren right now about what our high number is. We were already at the threshold of what we can do in high wind situation.
Yeah.
He's checking on that for me. I'm gonna get.
I think with the changes, it's 100 and something pounds different.
Yeah. We are close to our weight capacity in order to keep the machinery operating. So we have to remove something to get that weight capacity. We were counting on some of that weight of the lighting units on the upstage side to act as ballast to help keep our center of gravity.
I'm adding 600 pounds, but taking off 510.
Yeah.
So it's 90 pounds different.
Right. My only other concern is that we're adding 2.4 meters of video screen, right?
Yeah.
And we're only taking away 2 meters
of thing. Okay. Well,
because that's a foot and a half somewhere.
It's lucky that it sits off the deck.
I mean, that's the thing, right? It's
sure.
a foot and a half somewhere that we're gonna have to deal with one way or another.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna get on the phone with Tyler.
So Paul won't approve it until he gets the drawing.
I need to sketch again, send that to Tyler. He's gonna look into what the weight is, do the center of gravity, and then we have to get that to Mountain, who is the provider of the rigging and the roof, and then they will either sign off or not sign off on the additional load. This happens all the time, especially when you're on site. This is how you need to solve these kind of problems.
I'll push my vendors for design to the limits. I'll try and put more lights on the stage, make the stage taller, integrate technology in ways that hasn't been integrated before. But at the end of the day, I'll keep going until somebody that's in a higher authority says no, and it's all about safety.
We're standing behind the main stage at Ultrafest. We start out with the base truss. Steel beams connect together. They're built to hold water for extra ballast. On this structure, we've added an extra 32,000 pounds of ballast. Just to help support support the logo that's on the front of the roof. We build our main roof structure on the deck, raise it with chain motors, and the whole structure itself can hold about 400,000 pounds. We've built these huge scaffolding wings on the side to hold all the scenic elements. And being we're here in Miami and on the water, we had to design for 90-mile-an-hour wind speeds. So I have about 240,000 pounds of concrete ballast strategically placed underneath. We could probably withstand a Class 1 hurricane wind here.
Two issues about weather, right? There's, the poor fans that are going to get wet while they're watching their favorite band, or the band who's playing is going to get wet. But during the 2 weeks it takes to build this, it's brutal. It's not like you can just send 1,500 people home when it gets miserable out. You got to keep working through it. Check those guys out. Look at them. Right, there's the answer to your weather. Anywhere you do an outdoor show, though, you have the same problems.
The staging vendor has put a few planks for us across their scaffolding so we could put our racks on and not have it sitting in the mud or sinking or anything like that.
We moved on to the robots, which was a good move. We knew that we had that in our back pocket since they were arriving. Once they get those nailed down and we kind of suss out what else is going on the rest of the scaff, we'll figure out whether it's smart for us to move on to pyramids tonight or not.
But our big issue right now is just how we integrate the pyramids onto the scaffolding. There was a lot of plan and hope and dreams in the shops about how those would go together. Right now you can see our cross braces that we're putting in on top of the scaffolding. Basically our pyramids just sit on the bottom of that and then clip in on the top. Little interaction, let's call it, with the cross braces that these guys got here and our pipe. So now we're just going to try to figure out how we make that work. There's a few options. Two options require engineers to sit and do all kinds of math. And the other option is to take all of those cross braces off and put them on the inside, which takes a whole lot of rigor sitting and doing a whole lot of math, I suppose. So we'll figure out which option is better.
Back in Lidditz, our boys are checking weight limitations and what the implications are of adding and making those modifications. We haven't heard back for sure yet, but we're trying to get it done.
It seems like we might have actually exacerbated the situation by taking the lights off the back, because now it seems like it's tweaking one of the connections in a way that it wasn't designed to go. So,
like, you have space between this truss and those up and down stage trusses, because the further back you get it, the more you're away from all this crap.
All these tugs are going to be open at that point, right?
Yeah, they'll all be.
I mean, we could, depending on what their header is, mount the kabukis to the back of their header, hang the good right off their header, and put the sniffer on our truss. Instead of adding more video because it became an engineering issue, what we're looking at doing now is we're actually adding another gag, and it's one of our stock gags that's a kabuki drop, where the curtain drops. The band will be able to project their content onto that good. It'll drop, then we're gonna put one of our sniffer winches on that truss and suck the good up.
And so who's gonna talk to the band, you or you? Who's got more cred?
We're gonna do it now.
Yeah. We kind of playing ping pong.
Good cop, bad cop?
Yeah.
Who's the
Well,
bad cop?
no, actually it was
You're the bad cop.
I was, yes.
There's 7 stages, 50,000 people a day.
It's massive. We have offices and storage and motorhomes, a yacht for dressing rooms, vendors, bars, concessions, 400 porta potties, 20 ATMs, phone line, internet, power, 30 Jennies on site, gas, 30,000 gallons, forklifts, booms, scissors, 90-ton cranes, 75-ton cranes, 140 golf carts. It's massive. That's all I can say is it's massive.
So here we are, it's day 2, and we had a little problem with the sub deck for the matrix lifts. We put 2 matrix lifts on there, walked away to dinner, came back and they had sunk.
I'll find Raph. Should be under here. Hey Gordo, where's Raph? Can I have him for a minute?
So when we set 2 lifts on there in the center line, in an hour, there was a 3/4 inch difference in height as they had come in. Yeah, they'd opened up.
sinking in the middle, you're saying?
So what we did overnight was we put 2 on the far side because we were concerned that maybe we were crowning the whole thing because we just had 2 in the middle. So we put 2 lifts on that side, 2 lifts on that side to level it out to see what the difference would be overnight. And overnight we lost 1/4 of an inch in depth. We measured everything and then come back the next day.
What's the overall weight of the whole platform?
At the moment now, that would be just under 100,000 pounds.
It's heavy.
There's basically too much give in the subdeck, so they've added a layer of plywood, hopefully mitigate it.
If it is sinking, it's sinking as a whole unit. So,
well, we got that going for us. It'll all sail away together.
We've got some repair happening on our pyramids. We had some damage in shipping. Basically, a couple of the dollies bounced around in the truck a little bit.
What happened is these got busted out. So all the weight was taken by this one. So it just blew this corner out.
We start every show with how are we going to protect this equipment to travel all around the world? How are we going to protect this equipment to go into planes, to go into trucks, to go into sea containers? Here, even though it's only coming to one place and going home to one place, it's a trade-off of how do you package that equipment that doesn't bleed your budget but still protects the gear. And we ran into a little problems coming here with some of the pyramids that got damaged.
Because this is a one-off, we didn't do our standard, really beefy steel dollies for this. We did wooden skids. The skids broke apart a little bit. It was just enough and let them shift. A couple of the seams split, so we're gonna have to drill out some stuff, re-rivet, refasten, maybe add some extra fasteners.
And then we just got to put these rain shields on and these bars here for the lights.
We still have to get them back home, and we haven't actually figured out how we're going to do that yet. That's a new challenge that we're just starting to see, too, as you get into this high level of one-offs, that this equipment needs to be treated differently. It's not like television scenery that you're going to throw into the dumpster at the end of the night or that you're going to build out of 2x4s when you get there. And we're struggling with that at the moment.
When it's rotating on the end axes, we have the video wires going across. Right now it's limiting our rotation because it's hitting the structure of the robot.
We didn't have a plan in place before we left the shop.
I mean, the perfect thing is wireless power. You're gonna get that. Look, that's putting a shit ton of stress on that end.
Yeah.
I don't think video is gonna like that. Maybe we should show somebody. I don't really want to, but
if we think this is where we're gonna land, we gotta make them aware of that. It's like this with any gag, right? I mean, you have limitations, and we strive to overcome those limitations whenever we can. But at some point, you just run into things that you can't change, right? So, see how this goes. Because of the way it comes off the arm there, we can't get a full 360 rotation out of it.
Yeah, but that only has to go through at a degree, like the cue there where one rolls and the next screen rolls. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, so it can end upside down. It only has to go 180 or 200, so it simulates the roll and then it can roll back. That's fine.
Well, that was all right. Good.
Well, I like solving that problem.
Good. Done. See, nothing to it.
We're about to do a trolley test and a spin test. We're about to fire up matrix lifts as well. We have pyramids up. The Belgian crew, God bless them, came in and have hung most of them. They've hung 90% of them, I'd say, if not more. Robots are already moving, so it seems like we're okay for being a day behind.
Yeah, I think we're at a really good place and excited for the show and the craziness that comes with this kind of one-off. So
we're nearly there. Everything will be finished in the next 2 days. So by Tuesday night, we'll have the entire stage finished off, ready for rehearsals on Wednesday morning. We rehearse for 2 days, and then showtime Friday.
That main stage is pretty incredible. So I'm really excited to turn the power on and see it go.
At nighttime, when the lights go down and all these LEDs and all these lights, all this stuff comes to life, it will be true magic, and I think people will be blown away.
It's a vision that's been turned into life. It gives you goosebumps. And at the end of the day, it's like all of the energy is spent on making the crowd get the goosebumps.
It's so satisfying to see the crowd and the smiles on everyone's face and people dancing and having a great time. It really is a unique experience.
You know, I always say that rock and roll pioneers the technology for Broadway and theater. And whether I'm right or I'm wrong about that, that's just kind of how we feel. Like, we bust our ass prototyping some of these things, and then you see it in theater 5 years later after it's been perfected. And I think that some of the artists in the electronic dance music are looking around at what all the possible innovations are and what can they do. And they've now, a lot of them have collided in rock and roll. They've started to see a lot of the stuff we're doing, and they want to know how can they use it for their own bands. But I think that's a harder task, because if you look at what Ultra's done here, Ultra said, we'll provide the production. You guys can bring in something to embellish it, but we'll give you like the big building block of the show, and we'll give you the environment to do it. And I think seems like that's more sustainable in the future than having every electronic dance music artist carrying around giant productions. 300 bands are going to be cruising around here going, hey, look at that thing, that's really cool, where do you get one of them? And, you know, branding it, having these guys be proud to have us here is really nice. You're just kind of feeling your way out around here as to, well, what is the future? But fuck the future. Today, we need to shine, and that's the hard part.